Sports Snippets, Dennis Sullivan. What's up, guys? How you doing here as we prepare for the Sweet 16, down to 16 teams? I tell you what, in the NCAA men's tournament, I tell you what, I think now it's time to just pause for a few moments, reflect a little on what's happened through the first two rounds of the NCAA men's basketball tournament, and go to about 5 quick points up here on the Snippets board and just kind of discuss a few things as we get ready for the Sweet 16 round. It should be extremely entertaining, very exciting. If you do like the content of this particular video, don't forget to go ahead, hit that like button. I know you can do it. And subscribe to Sports Snippets with Dennis Sullivan as well. Should you feel the need to do so, that would be awesome too. So let's get started. Here we go, guys. Now I have 5 points. Made it very brief this time. My first up here, though, I did note, I put the word thanks. And the reason why I did that, I just basically typed the word thanks, or wrote, in my magic marker, the word thanks, is because we all should be thankful, in my opinion, that there is a tournament this year. We didn't have it last year, remember. We didn't have an NCAA March Madness college basketball tournament, men's tournament. So we got to give thanks, we got to be grateful that we have it, and it's so good to have this back as a sports fan. Can't begin to tell you. And also the women's tournament, guys, that's exciting too. I was checking out a little Michigan against Florida Gulf Coast. That was pretty cool. I was checking that out, and a few other games as well. So kind of getting into a little bit into the women's action. A few of the stations, the cable network stations, covering that. Pretty cool, good stuff. And they have a tournament set up just like the men do. So go ahead and check that out as well. Highly advise it. I'll be watching too, especially as they get deeper into the final teams that are left as well in their tournament, in the women's tournament. So that should be great. And that is an awesome, it's been around too for decades. So just like the men's tournament, it's been around for a long time. Now, moving back onto the men's tournament and some general observations. I know I put just like one, I was very brief this time, but I wrote D, which you probably guessed correctly, stands for defense, right? Defense. So I got a few points of analysis on defense. I was going back to BYU and UCLA. I'm telling you now, guys, UCLA was in striking distance of making a run in the second half. They just couldn't get good shots. And they were trying to feed the ball inside. They were trying to go into the post, and it just wasn't working. Credit to UCLA, who played one of the grittiest half-court defenses I've seen in a while. They were digging in, was UCLA. And of course, we've heard over the years and so many times, it's the ability to, for example, switch up your defense. Meaning, now this wasn't the case in UCLA against BYU, but the ability to go from half-court zone to man-to-man to press to trap. So many different kind of defenses you could play and switch up on, and that's a big part of it too. But in the case of the game I saw between BYU and UCLA Saturday night, this was just a matter of one team locking in defensively in the half-court defense and just not budging and just playing really tough. And sometimes you just see it's coaching, but it's also the players, mind over matter. The mental toughness of the players, the physical toughness of the players. So keep watching throughout this tournament how teams are going about the action on defense. Are they switching up a lot? Or maybe they're not doing that. Maybe they're just going with what's working for them. Maybe they're just sticking with, say, a half-court zone or a trap, right? Or maybe they're trying some pressure. Next up, three-point shooting. Always a big part in a tournament, guys, and college basketball in general. Three-point shooting is critical. It works both ways. If you're hot and you're hitting them, boy, you got a great chance to win. That's how we see a lot of upsets. If your team is just not hitting those threes, you're going cold from three, does this team keep going to that resource? Are we going to keep trying to take them? Are we going to now start to improve our shot selection, meaning the three-pointer is no longer really a good shot for us, and maybe get something a little more high percentage? I take you back as an example to the Eastern Washington-Kansas game in the first round that I was watching. Wasn't glued to this game, but was watching it. And Eastern Washington, as a 14 seed, had I believe it was an 8-point lead over Kansas. Right around 8 points. They were up. They had a nice lead at the half. They had about an 8-point lead at the half against the 3rd seed in Kansas. Tough team, one of the better teams in the country. And what happened? And they battled on the boards. Eastern Washington was battling on the boards, and as a matter of fact, they were toe-to-toe with them in rebounding in this game. So it wasn't like they were getting beaten on the boards at all. 2 areas that I thought did them in, though, and allowed Kansas not only to come back, but to win this game, kind of going away. They won by a handful of points, by like 9 or something like that. Turnovers. Kansas barely turned the ball over, only 6 versus Eastern Washington's 13. So +7 on the turnover side for Kansas. That's big. And Kansas, again, taking care of the basketball. Huge. But the big thing, guys, and the reason why I'm bringing this up and bringing this game up, I noticed Eastern Washington with the shot selection started going down the drain in the second half. Almost like in the sense of a panic. They threw up a few ill-advised three-pointers. They shot something like, they didn't shoot that bad from three, like in the high 30s, right? They were around like 38% from what I saw. I was a little surprised. I would have guessed a little bit lower. But they just kind of almost gave in to Kansas, saying, you know what, we can't beat you guys toe-to-toe. We're going to try to go for the knockout punch with three-pointers. And it failed. That's kind of the impression I got. Something you want to watch, guys, in these games, especially when we get into next year in the opening rounds, when you have these big, or even in the Sweet 16 or Elite 8, if you have a big underdog, or the Final Four for that matter, or the championship game even. But if you have an underdog or a fairly big underdog, sometimes the shot selection, sometimes these teams are coached to win. The coaching staffs do such a great job. But the shot selection, they get a little desperate. They try to go for like a knockout punch when it's just not time to do that. And it's okay to take chances. Yeah, you're going to have to take some chances. You're going to have to hit some threes. But you can see it in that shot selection sometimes when the underdog is going toe-to-toe with the big favorite. And then it's almost like they give in. Not that they give in meaning we give you the game. It's almost mentally they give in to the pressure. And they start making bad decisions and turning the ball over more and all these other things. So I just wanted to point that out to you. Big part of the game. 4 stands for Final Four. Guys, little quick tidbit for you that I want to share with you. As you may have heard, I've mentioned once before in an earlier video, I've yet to pick a Final Four correctly. That's tough to do, by the way. So I've been filling out brackets for the NCAA tournament since the late 80s. I've come close. I've never done it this year, thanks to Illinois. Losing to Loyola Chicago. Thanks to them, I will not, they were my first Final Four team that was defeated. So unfortunately, guys, I will not be picking the Final Four correct either this year as well. Now, the reason why I put that down, first of all, if you've ever picked the Final Four correct, I want to, please let me know who you picked, what year it was, and all that stuff in the comments. Not easy to do. I remember back in the days filling out the newspaper prior to the internet, right? We wouldn't go online and fill out brackets. This was 1987, I think, was my first, either 87 or 88 was my first bracket I filled out. And you would wait every year for the newspaper to come out with this big bracket on the page, and you would write in your picks, right? It was still field of 64. And I don't think back then they had the first four or the game prior to the tournament and all this stuff. It was 64, boom, there you go, make your picks. You would take out a pen or a pencil and you would write in your picks. And I remember Arizona let me down a few years back then. And then, you know, they were kind of like the Virginia of today. Even though Virginia, credit given, they won it a couple years ago, credit given. You guys are awesome with that. Great championship win a few years ago. So, very difficult thing to do is picking the Final Four. Very tough. Will be very interesting to see who makes it through this year. Final keys, guys, final things I just want to mention real quick. What's it going to take to get into the Final Four? You go, well, you got to win 2 more games. Once you're Sweet 16, now you got to go Elite 8. Elite 8 winners go to the Final Four, right? Got to be able to switch up that defense. Now, you've heard these things before. You can hear these, this type of feedback I'm going to give you before I close out this video in a number of places. Watch any college basketball game, you're going to hear this type of dialogue that I'm about to provide. Got to be able to switch up your defenses. Shot selection's huge. If the 3 isn't working, you can't count too much on the 3. Don't be desperate. Go inside when needed. Draw fouls. And it's a combination. See, when I say switch up defenses, yeah, in my opinion, it's important to kind of do that early. See what kind of results you're getting, maybe. Not that I'm trying to take someone's job in college basketball coaching. Trust me, you know, I don't have that background, and that's that's not me. But in the case going back to UCLA, that half-court packing it in defense that they had was working. So a lot of times, yeah, you want to switch up, but you also want to go with what's working. And that'll be interesting as we head into the final few rounds. Looking forward to it. This coming weekend should be awesome. I'm going to be back here this coming weekend talking to you guys more about college basketball and the tournament. And this is going to be awesome, guys. Leave me your comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.